I'm in my shop today and I'm working on the crossover for my speakers up there. If you don't know what a crossover is, basically what it does is it divides the frequencies of the sound. You know, if you get music coming into the speaker, you don't want the low frequency stuff going to the tweeter, and you don't want the high frequency stuff going to the woofer. You want to divide those and separate them. And that's what a crossover does. It separates that signal so the highs go to the tweeter and the lows go to the woofer. And that's done, that can be done in several ways. What I'm going to be doing is what's known as a passive crossover. And it uses coils like this here and capacitors to separate this. Anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is I posted the build video for the speakers this morning, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the way that I built those and the choices that I made there. Normally, solid wood is something I'd really avoid for speakers, mainly because it's so much extra work that you have to do to use it for that. And it kind of limits what you're able to do, as in you have to allow for wood expansion and contraction. And in a speaker box, the only way to do that effectively so that you still wind up with a box that's completely solidly glued so that it doesn't have any gaps or leaks is to use it for the top and the sides and the bottom. So that the box, you can see them up there behind me. I got them up there because I knocked one over actually yesterday and scuffed up the nice tweeter plate that I made, face plate, and I have to repair that. I had them down there on my footstool and I backed up into them because I was cutting something on the bandsaw and just caught it before it went down on the floor. But it did, I had a paint can in my hand actually as well, and the paint can hit. Why am I talking about that? You don't care about that. Anyway, so there they are up there. They're built the way they are to allow for that expansion and contraction of the solid wood. Normally, the way I would build a speaker is to use plywood or MDF. I don't like working with MDF though anymore because the dust is too irritating. But I would use plywood and then I would cover that with a real wood veneer. And you can get that very nice round over effect much cleaner with veneer. I've done that before. What you do is you build a box from plywood, you round over the corner with the router, sand it smooth, and then you veneer from one side all the way around to the other side. And then you veneer the top as well, so you don't have any end grain showing. So I've got the end grain showing up here. Now I could have I got scratches on the front here too. God damn it! I'll have to fix that. Anyway, I could have done this differently. I didn't have to have the end grain up on the top here like this. I could have mitered these. The problem with that is that, okay, I wanted to round over the front corner here like this as well. And if you miter the top to the side, you've got that area there where it's going to look weird, where you round it over. And the other thing is that I don't have a problem with butt joints. I like this look, actually. I like the way the end grain is showing on the top like that. A lot of guys are going to look at this and they're going to say, well, that's shoddy workmanship because you just use butt joints for that. But I kind of get a little bit off topic here talking about generalities, but the way this is successful is that the grain wraps the box like this. The grain is running in this direction on the side. It's running across the top like this on the top, down the side on the other side, and across the bottom in the same way. So what you wind up with is the expansion and contraction due to seasonal moisture changes happening from front to back. And it will not affect any of the joinery on the box. It will not put any stress. It would be different, however, if this panel on the top were turned around so that the long grain is up against this side over here. That would eventually fail because the side being this width, wants to expand and contract, and the wood doesn't expand and contract along its grain, along this edge of the grain, as much as it does. It expands and contracts a very small amount. You don't have to allow for it generally, but it expands quite a bit across the grain. Okay, other thing about this is I'm trying not to scratch it up here because I got stuff on here. It's a screw. I got a screw on here, so I'm scratching up the bottom. I got to take the speakers out to wire them up and all that, so I'm going to have to refinish the whole thing again. I kind of did it in a rush at the end, so I'd have the video ready for Sunday. It was a lot of work to get this all done in the span of 1 week. The other thing is the way the front is here. I used plywood for the front and for the back, but I laminated the front with a piece of solid cherry that matches, that was actually cut from one of the sides. So the grain matches up really nice. The chance that I took there was that this seam here would be really obvious because, okay, the way they cut the board, the way these boards are cut, they're flats on, they're taken from the log across. So the grain looks a little bit different on the edge of the board than it does on the face. And in this case here, it's not bad, but I took a chance on that. The other way that I could have done it was that I could have, I'm trying to think of a way that I could do it. I would have to use real thin veneer. I'd have to use veneer thinner than what I have here, make the face entirely from plywood, and then veneer it so that the veneer wraps around that curve on the front. Either that or leave it square, which is something I really didn't want to do. What else can I talk about? The work I did on the tweeter, I made the faceplates for those. I think that was absolutely worth it. These tweeters that I have here, I said in the build article that I got them at Goodwill, and I'm pretty sure that's where I got them. I used to go to Goodwill just about every week back then. That's like 13, 14 years ago, and check for used amplifiers because I would scrap those and get mostly the transformers because they had, good transformers in them, and other parts like screws and stuff like that. Very handy to have. So I'd look for that, and occasionally someone would bring in something like a pair of speakers. Usually the retail grade speakers that you see are not worth actually bringing from the store, even if they give them to you, which they're not. I mean, they're charging, what, $5 for them or whatever. They usually leave those behind because they're junk. But these are good quality speakers in here. They call them drivers, actually. This is a Vifa woofer, you can hear. And I think that this was around $80 each for these. I bought these brand new, and I bought them for a set of speakers this size. And I actually made the speakers, and I think if I can find a picture, I'll put it on the screen. Anyway, I didn't really like the results of that, so I was going to use them for something else, but I never did. I packed them up back at my old house in a box, and a week before I started building this, I went down and I found the box that they were in. I took them out and checked them to make sure that they actually worked, which they did. And here they are right here. I was trying to come up with a prop that I could demonstrate how this expands and contracts from the front to back here. And I don't have it in here, but take your average hose that you have from your solid dust collector line that goes to your table saw or whatever. It's a convoluted pipe. It's an accordion pipe. It collapses and stretches out. And that's exactly the way the wood behaves here in this box from front to back. On the front here, nothing moves. On the back, nothing moves. Just, it gets a little bit longer in the summer, and it gets a little bit shorter in the winter because it's going like this. And that's the wood movement that you have to allow for when you're working with solid wood.
Welcome, humans. I am ready for you. Fish, plankton, sea greens, and protein from the sea. Fresh as harvest day. Overwhelming, am I not?